advanced in formation across open fields to charge an enemy position a mile away. Established upon a ridge and behind a low stone wall, the Union forces held their fire until the Confederates were well within range, a restraint rebels laid to a 2-hour barrage that prepared their way. What they didn't know was that their guns had progressively overshot the target as each blast pounded a cannon's tailpiece deeper into the soft earth. And because black powder created such billows of smoke, the gunners could rarely observe where their shots were falling. When General Pickett's men neared their objective, the center of the Union line, they advanced into point-blank fire. Even so, a handful of Southerners did reach the stone wall, at least temporarily. That as many as 5,000 Confederates actually returned unhurt to their lines was something of a miracle, owed mostly to the inaccuracy of the day's weapons and to firing time lost in reloading by muzzle. There were many comparable infantry charges in World War I, but the outcome was quite different. Hardly anyone who charged over the top survived the defenders' savage fire. With developments in smokeless powder and in high-velocity ammunition, the machine gun of 1914 could fire 600 rounds per minute at ranges that exceeded 1,000 yards. 2 or 3 machine guns would have made quick work of a Pickett's charge. Robert E. Lee, who ordered the charge, would not make such a mistake again, but the generals of World War I did, again and again. Axelrod further differentiates the two wars by pointing out that in World War I, getting killed became a rather more impersonal event. Quote, "Rarely was there any individual opponent to outwit, outrun, or outthink." Breech loading had shortened the interval between firings, and field guns now had recoil systems that took up the counterforce of propulsion without jolting the gun carriage, which saved time readjusting the aim. And rifled barrels and high-velocity shells had pushed possible targets far beyond human sighting, some 70 miles for Germany's Paris guns. Death just dropped out of the sky, with no warning. But some things had begun to change before the United States entered the fighting in late spring 1918. With Russia out of the war that winter, Germany took advantage of armies withdrawn from the Eastern Front to direct all efforts towards finally crushing the British and the French forces, before Americans arrived in threatening numbers. A series of 5 major German offensives against the Western Front brought both sides out of the trenches and into the open, which was just fine with General John J. Pershing, commander of the American Expeditionary Force, who had long resisted feeding his men as they arrived into the deadly trenches to die under foreign commanders. In 110 days of heavy combat, fighting at last under the American flag, and now 2 million strong, the AEF played a decisive role in causing the defeat of the German Empire. Now let Alan Axelrod tell you in greater detail how it all unfolded. Walton Rawls. Walton Rawls is the author of Wake Up America, World War I and the American Poster. His other books include Great Civil War Heroes and Their Battles, a Book of the Month Club alternate selection, and Disney Don's Dog Tags, the best of Disney military insignia from World War II. He was a contributor to the Oxford Companion to American Military History. Introduction. In a century defined by cataclysms, the only event more cataclysmic than World War I was the war that it spawned, World War II. Without an understanding of the First World War, we cannot fully comprehend the Second. More important, without knowledge of World War I, the entire century becomes something of a mystery.